Okay, so here are my little mini lessons for language this week. And I'm sure that these will probably change slightly as the week goes on, just depending on what we see. But I'd like to include something on number writing because I think that this will, again, just focus in the math piece during literacy time as well. And on Friday, I kind of put out a bit of a provocation involving some math books with the hope that students might make some math books for the kindergarten students. And I thought this might get them into the thought of some number writing, pattern writing, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that I can kind of extend that this week as well. And I'm noticing a lot of kids are still using uppercase in the middle where lowercase belong. I've talked a little bit and kind of modeled it as I'm doing the writing, but I think I'd like to do a little mini lesson this week, focusing specifically on that and then seeing how the students do as the week goes on with it. The other thing is the spaces between the words. I've done a bit with the finger space, but I'm wondering about the little lesson on the meatballs and looking at the meatball spaces between the words versus spaghetti that just goes between the letters. So we might look at that this week. And then working on writing questions. Now that the students are actually big on asking questions, which is great, and we're really getting some good questions with why and how and things like that, I'd like to move towards writing some questions and how we can use even the cue chart to help us with some of the words. So I think we'll look at that a little bit more this week. And then the idea of sentence writing too. Some of them are using sentence starters, and that's great. And then the ones that don't need sentence starters, I really want them to start expanding even more on those sentences. And I would like everybody, even those that that don't need the sentence start or that do need the sentence starters, to actually start using them for the writing. So really honing in on this sentence writing this week. Okay, so for math this week, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to be focusing in on a number of different math games, math activities, really honing in on the subitizing, which we started to really look at on Friday. It is difficult for them, and I think for them to kind of move on in the addition, even for them to understand and gain a better understanding of number, we really need to get into it. So we'll do some stuff with dot plates, with the iPad apps that are there, dice games, some domino things. I've got some 10 frame activities and things like that to just kind of get them playing around with it, doing some counting on so that they kind of get the idea of the addition part, so we can kind of move with the counting on part too. I'm not there on Tuesday, so my hope is that I can kind of intro the activities on Monday and then just kind of tweak them Tuesday and Wednesday as things go on. I'm sure some will do one, and then based on the needs, I can kind of make the different tweaks so that we can kind of move forward in them actually better gaining an understanding of subitizing and what those numbers look like. And then on Thursday and Friday, oh, hold on, I don't know why that's not doing it. I really want to get into some math problems. And I've kind of got an idea for an ice cream scoop combination one, as well as a ta and tt one that will get us a little bit into the music part, but that will also really have them looking at the idea of subitizing and the different combinations, and we'll get them kind of thinking a little bit about that addition concept with it too. So that's really going to be my key concept with it. And Friday for our class visits, I would even like them to, I kind of like to link literacy and numeracy and get into some talking and reading of books together, and specifically looking at even some of the math books and the number books and things that are out there, and getting the students to show their parents how they use them and how they talk with them, and then parents kind of engaging in some of that math talk with students. And while science and social studies will be a part of the language block this week, there's a few little additions that I want to look specifically at. One is developing the deeper questions based on the disciplines of thinking. So now that the students have gotten to see, based on one of the disciplines, that that over time some things remain the same and some things change with regards to responsibilities, I'm wondering if we can kind of use those observations to create some of our own questions, some maybe of which they can already answer, and some of which we might need to look deeper at how we can go and answer them. So I'd like to work on that. And then I also want to introduce energy this week for science. So I want them to start thinking. Sorry, somehow I stopped my recording. So, anyways, I wanted to look at the first overall expectation, which talks about how energy is used in the home, at school, and how we can look at reducing it. I picked up some provocations that will hopefully help with that at the dollar store, and I thought we could start just by labeling some of it, which will come through our language class, but then also looking at how we can start to reduce it. So I thought we could even at school go around and do a tally chart of who has their lights on, maybe when they're not in the room. What about the use of computers being on? That whole concept to the eco school idea. And then looking at what we could do as a school, what kind of plan we could put into place to try to help reduce energy use when people are not in the room and not using it, right? So hopefully we could kind of move in that direction. I had a teacher at my school last year that did that, and it seemed really popular and has the nice little link to the tally chart piece too. And hopefully they can start sharing some of their own questions and start looking and investigating some of that too, which will also connect to our question writing and language. So the other thing I want to look at this week is the starting of music. We've done some stuff playing with music, but the other day I was listening to the bumper on 105 The Hive as we were doing our radio show, and I thought, oh, what a great way for students to make bumpers is to look at the patterns in music. So they can actually write their own, but also play around with creating their own patterns, right? So I thought if they could listen to it and then kind of work together to get the pattern and then move it into writing, it kind of also has a literacy connection as well, so that they can kind of see how that transforms once they actually put it in writing. So that will be kind of separate this week, but something that I'm hoping will be kind of embedded as part of the literacy piece as well as math.